Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of East Safe. I'll call the meeting to order, the time being 5:30. Number 2 on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda for resolution.
Be it resolved that the agenda be adopted as presented.
Have a mover, please. Councillor Postuma, second by Councillor Horechko. All those in favor? That's carried. Moving down to item number 4, the adoption of the minutes. 4.1 for resolution.
Be resolved that the council minutes of the be approved.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Imhoff, second by Councillor Duval. All those in favor? That's carried. 4.2.
Be it resolved that the council meeting minutes of the December 14th, 2023 special meeting be approved.
Mover, please. Councillor Postuma, second by Councillor Horechko. All those in favor? That's carried. And 4.3.
Be resolved that the council meeting minutes of the January 4th, 2024 special meeting of council be approved.
I have a mover, please. Councillor Imhoff, second by Councillor Duval. All those in favor? That's carried. Item number 5 is delegations. We do have a delegation here tonight. There are 3 names on the list. I see 2 people in the audience. So we have Brian Nash. Brian is not here. Robert Pike. And Lance Spencer from Fort Garry Fire Trucks Limited. Who would wish to speak? Both of you? Okay, come up to the podium. Just give us your name and address for the record.
I'm Robert Pike with Fort Garry Fire Trucks and We're located here in Winnipeg. We're the largest manufacturer of fire trucks in the country.
Okay.
So we do want to speak to council with regards to opportunity and options and the ability to look at council resolution passed back. So to thank council to give us, because I understand originally we got to it's been done and then so our tendencies.
So if an item is not on the agenda, our bylaw states that it can't be spoken to by a delegation. Council made an exception tonight. And so you have 10 minutes to give us your presentation. It's not a Q&A. Council does have the ability to ask you a question after your presentation. And then later on in the evening, we will discuss the presentation amongst ourselves.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are here to offer options and opportunities for council. Benefit, measure of value, supply of quality and cost effectiveness. But we do want council to have an open mind of what we're presenting tonight and by all means ask some questions. We are a vendor providing information to council and council is an investor. I heard the notice and the information with regards to the fire underwriter survey and the 20 years that any apparatus you purchase is going to be looked after. And that investment is really important. So that's a big part of it. Inspection, quality control, and due diligence by council and the investment of $1 million apparatus is really important. We also want to make sure that you understand this is an opportunity for Manitoba and Canadian suppliers of apparatus. As the largest manufacturer in the country, we also want to make it very clear that no Canadian manufacturer is listed as part of the buying groups. And that's a lot of our concern because Fort Garry Fire Trucks scored the highest in fire truck manufacturers 2 categories, the value and the value added attributes for our apparatus, which includes the product itself, the equipment, the maintenance ability, the training, as well as warranty coverage and information, which includes all our products, all our labor, warranty without restrictions, limitations, and our technical time. We were in the top 3 in financial, industry, and marketplace success, and the top 5 for selection and variety of products. And yet we do not show up on that list. I will also again repeat, no Canadian manufacturers have buying this. So that's a big problem with us in terms of bias. Other Canadian manufacturers were also listed in terms of the top pricing. We're again excluded. So we do want to demonstrate to council there's alternatives and opportunities here as a vendor to meet these strengths. So an open, fair, and transparent process is the first thing we want to touch with a strong recognized public criteria that's published. So a good technical specification with good evaluation, good purchasing conditions, good bid evaluations, and a good valuation matrix always puts money in your pocket as a good return on investment. And a good specification does that. What I'll point out with the buying group specification, there are no technical specifications. If you pull out that bid, you will not see any listing of what makes up a fire truck. I'll just pause for 2 seconds because what they base it on is they base it on marketplace, they base it on warranty, they base it on the ability to fulfill procurement, but not fire apparatus. So now what's happened is essentially that we don't necessarily have an open, fair, and transparent process for the rest of us to be able to bid on. So the rest of the manufacturers are excluded. You don't want to be in this position of eliminating a good guess on your money that you have no measure right now because you've excluded everybody else. So with those fire service specifications and a good valid assessment, you're looking at the next 20 years for an NFPA assessment and a good retirement plan. And I noticed on tonight's agenda, you're even looking ahead to capital planning into 2025. So the same thing with this fire apparatus, council won't even right now be aware and hear when you receive this truck. We have 3 trucks available in 2024 that we weren't even able to offer. A comparable unit, custom chassis, emergency rescue bodies, and at the time when your committee was looking at it, we had a truck on the parking lot we could have had here in 20 minutes. But without specifications in the public, we weren't able to offer that. Policy and good meeting. We looked at policy with regards to not only in trade agreements, but also policy within the different municipalities dealing with sole source suppliers and the availability of the conditions and the things that you can be looking at in terms of purchasing. We can supply apparatus to the same standards, and it would be interesting to see within your specifications right now what standard you're purchasing to. We are now in the 2024 standard of apparatus. You may have signed an agreement that now has you still at the 2026, the 2016 apparatus. So those are the little purchasing conditions that beforehand, if that was spoken to as a different apparatus manufacturers, you've got a good position to be able to look at that, do your due diligence, and make sure your purchasing was right up to date. Where we see that is within East St. Paul's consistent purchasing. I saw basically one of the councillors just attended to Edmonton to Brent to inspect your new snowplow, correct? And one of the things with that was you had the ability to watch a fire apparatus being built, inspect it, change things, adapt things, adopt things right from the assembly line. Your fire department would have access to factory warranty, factory service, and essentially if anything needed to be done, you could have had a person here right 20 minutes. So those are the things when conditions in purchasing come about. We definitely want to make sure from a risk benefit process and give you time to think. You are the administrators, management, organization, and deployment people responsible for the fire department. The fire department are the advisors of the product and provide the objective measures of what you're purchasing. From there, council needs to meet that resolution and provide a good demonstrated result to the citizens of the municipality. Up front, very important, tenders in progress is regulated by not only your policy, the Municipal Act, Canadian Free Trade Agreement, and the New West Partnership Trade Agreement. At the end of the day, I'm seeing that the buying group is a legal way to do things. I think what you need to understand with that is there's a lot of disclaimers in their documents that say at the end of the day, municipalities and AHJs are responsible for all the requirements of all those trade agreements. And they have those disclaimers right within the documents. So that's an important question to ask, because some of the documents actually say what they're doing is legal, but it doesn't necessarily mean everything in your process is legal. So be careful of that when it comes to the risk benefit decision. I talked very quickly about technical specifications, conditions, warranty, your evaluation matrix, and right now you have nothing to evaluate whether you got value for money. So by allowing a wider process, you would have a good value for money to be able to measure that. Loss of 3 years of trade-in. Literally, I heard over 30 months to get a new vehicle when you have in 2024 the opportunity to gain vehicles this year. Your conditions of contract are now weaker. Supplier has 3 years to be able to work with you and change things, adopt things. Money is going to exchange in terms of value over the next few years. And your value added in your warranty is definitely something that you can be thinking about as you consider what we're trying to pass on to you. Other users within the city limits and the metropolitan region have been using our apparatus for years and years and years. A lot of your staff have been trained in using and on using fire NFPA qualified fire apparatus built by Fort Garry fire trucks, and having spent a lot of time training the fire apparatus and them meeting the standards, I can tell you that being able to operate a fire truck from a driver operator standpoint, those specifications lay out everything from lighting to the color and the nameplates that are on those trucks. So in terms of putting together a good training plan, having your people operate, fix, train on those units, it can be done very simply. If that's one of your criteria that you want to push to the front. And references, we saw very much that the committee considered and passed on to council that that this expertise and experience was the best. We'd like to see criteria considered. We'd like to also bring to your attention the number of references that are out there. And a good reference would be the city of Winnipeg, who supplied over 40 fire apparatus, about half their fleet. So those are the types of things that we'd like to conclude with, that due diligence and a good consideration as you move forward here with the draft of the specifications and the draft of a purchasing agreement for an open, fair, and transparent procurement. The resolution aimed for specification that was passed and a public tender that was passed, and that vendors can demonstrate product to the committee and council with objective measures for a quick acceptance if that's one of the conditions. And a note that Fort Garry fire trucks and all Canadian manufacturers excluded from the list. And even the others of people that were on that buying list, how they were considered, so that you again had good competitive bidding. And with that presentation, with this delegation, we really would ask council to reconsider the resolution, how it was put forward for good government, a good process. When you look at the technical specifications and whether that signature went on that purchasing document and the opportunity to bid. I don't believe you'll be in a position to bid penalty or any issues with that as you draw up your conditions with another seller. So I'd like you to consider that you can be in a good position right now. Not move forward until you've actually taken the time to ask us questions and take you through some of the documents that are regulated and legislated. So.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I hope I hit the 10-minute mark.
You're about 11 minutes. Okay. Thank you. Council, do you have any questions for, sorry, it's Robert, right?
I don't.
Councillor Posthumous.
Yeah, you said earlier that you were the highest in product. You were the highest in product ranking. Is that like as a Canadian company or whatever? You were saying you were ranked number
Right across the 30 companies that submitted for the buying groups and their proposals. Fort Garry fire trucks scored #1 in our value added attributes. Product itself, the equipment that we add to it, and the way we manufacture it, our maintenance ability, our operator training that we provide on delivery, our technical advances, and our unique offerings. And that's where we help you with your needs assessment. Be able to go back and say, what is it you really need or really want? Here's your options. The second place that we scored was actually in our warranty coverage and information. So with that, all our product parts, all our labor, when it comes to warranty fittings, whether that's paint, whether that's structural components, whether it's our materials within that, as well as because we provided that with the least amount of restrictions, limitations, technical time, and service contract options, we were able to provide that as #1 across the 8 categories that was actually listed in the 8. So there's 8 categories. We scored the highest in 2 of them. And we were top 3 in the financial industry and marketplace success, and the top 4 for selection and variety of products and services offered. Out of 30 that put through the buying groups out of 8 categories.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So basically tonight you're asking council to consider removing their resolution and go back to the tender process. Is that correct?
Look at the original resolution,
Mhm.
consider specifications and the tech and the requirements laid out by the New West Partnership Trade Agreement, the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, and legislation that lays out technical specifications, conditions of purchase, which would be your warranty, delivery times, penalties if someone doesn't meet delivery requirements. Then your evaluation matrix that someone has produced a good review of how you're going to mark and how you're going to score. So when you do demonstrate to your citizens, you do demonstrate to people out there that you have scored against the criteria, and then you've evaluated that and scored that again, and then are able to take into account expertise and experience and value for money over the long term. You're also able to compare it with the NFPA standards. You're also able to, the National Fire Protection Association standards, as well as the Fire Underwriter Survey standards, and considerations for the ULC standards, which is also a way to list the fire apparatus. And then finally, you have the ability within that, when you do your public tendering, I noticed it with your loader, when you bought a front end loader, you also have to produce a document for the public to say, this is what we purchased. Here's where the other bidders' results and the conditions of purchase. Well, right now, there's a little bit of risk involved because there is no measure. There is nothing to provide to the other bidders. The last thing that comes out with all those trade agreements, sorry, Madam Mayor, I'm just trying to answer that question, was one of the things those buying groups do not give is the ability for manufacturers to formally ask a question, challenge a bid, ask for a decision, and more importantly, ask for a debrief. Even if we were an unsuccessful bidder, I can come to council, I can come to an AHJ and say, that's great, we didn't win the bid. Why? What do we have to do next? Was it price? Was it conditions? Was it poor quality? Was it our materials? How do we do better next time? That's also one of the requirements that are really in the Canadian Free Trade Agreements that aren't there for you, for us to say, how do we do better next time? Because we can do better, for example. So those are the types of things that list that we'd like you to consider as part of your original resolution. And go to public tender, put yourself in a good position.
Thanks.
That probably was longer than my original.
That's okay. And then for Garry trucks, why are you not part of the canoe program? Is it that you don't meet criteria?
We met the criteria and all Canadian manufacturers were scored. Out of those 30 manufacturers, 31 manufacturers. The cutoff, they decided at 8 manufacturers arbitrarily. So they picked 800 points and then they said cutoff was 800 and all the Canadian manufacturers were below both the 8 number as well as the 800 scoring. And like I said, the everything from pricing to the categories I mentioned still put all the Canadian manufacturers in that position. So I think overall we were tied for category, but arbitrarily 8 were set. They were all there.
Thank you. Councillor Imhoff?
Yeah, so have you had your debrief with them to find out where they feel that you guys were?
The lowest category we scored?
No, like overall, you were explaining the process where you go back and you can have a debrief with the organization and find out where and obviously in their eyes that you were deficient and where you can make improvements. Has that process taken place with this for you to gain access to this market?
Well, the interesting thing is that buying group is a Minnesota state group, and they don't necessarily need to follow those same criteria as what happens in Canada. When we got our feedback of where we actually had lowest, that took up the most points out of our 800 point bid, the feedback was they didn't like the way we actually put our items in. Now, but put this to you, if I see that you picked a E1 apparatus, well, E1 listed every truck a certain percentage off. Like right now, you should be getting 15 to 17% off the price of that truck. Whether you got that or not, I'll let you look at what your MSRP value is. We basically said, look, we will give anybody who buys trucks under these particular conditions, this is under these criteria, the amount of value we will return and what percentage of money, and they didn't necessarily like that. So the way we submitted our bid was as much as the issue as what we submitted, because we still scored high in the evidence. So it wasn't the specification side, it was the administrative side that we scored low. Hope that answers your question. And again, I have those results are available online. That bid and those results are available online. You can go to Sourcewell and pick out any manufacturer and see what they're offering. And I think that's a good point right now is E1 says they offer 15 to 17% discount. So I do hope somewhere along the line you got your 15 to 17% discount.
No further questions? Councillor Duval?
Yeah, so just to repeat what you said a few minutes ago, out of 30 suppliers, 30 buying groups, 30 suppliers.
30 suppliers submitted that proposal.
And they cut it down to a short list of 8. And you said arbitrarily?
There was no particular criteria. The criteria they laid out for how we're gonna pick 8 was first off, the first one was they were going to consider the demands of the user geographically. That was one of the first criteria, for instance, that they laid out. They laid out criteria for, I can reference it directly if you'd like. They referenced criteria for geography, the number of suppliers that were made available, and they felt that the AHJs needed to make good decisions. And literally picked 8 out of 30. There was no particular listed that, okay, we're gonna pick the top 10 beforehand. They picked the 8 after.
So this scoring matrix that eventually was not used to pick the top 8. Is that true?
The matrix was there, but it didn't lay out the technical specifications for a fire apparatus, the conditions of purpose. And from there, out of the 30 that put in, they said, at the end of the day, they said, okay, we're just gonna pick top 8. Had they said in the talk, we're gonna pick the top 10, might have been different. But they picked the top 8 because they felt that was the number that was needed for to satisfy their buying requirements.
Thank you.
I believe the document that we received said that the point scoring system was out of 1,000 points. Is that correct?
I have it as 800.
Okay.
And it's available from any of the buying group suppliers, both the RFP as well as the evaluation, as well as the contract for each supplier. So they have to sign a contract with Sourcewell. Even within the contract, you might find it interesting that those suppliers have to provide contract fees to a US state of Minnesota fund. So again, Canadian taxpayer money is going down in the states.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, I'm just wondering, we have some items underneath this. Would you like to open the floor up right now and have a little bit of a discussion? Or not, we can choose not to discuss the item right now, the presentation, and then these gentlemen can get on with their evening. Otherwise, they could sit here for another hour.
Fine with whatever.
I'm fine with it.
Sure.
So then I guess the first question I'm gonna have is council prepared to retract our resolution and rebid the fire truck?
Pretty,
The reason I'm asking is because if we're not willing to look at that, there's no discussion tonight. The presentation was provided to us and there's no discussion. Councillor DeVal.
Well, there's some information obviously that we like to look up this delegation's presentation that we sitting around here, all this whole thing involves. I think it's quite pertinent to our decision whether we agreed to have another look at the resolution.
So I'm gonna go, I think that now there's a discussion. I thought that maybe there wouldn't have been a discussion, but I'll open the floor for discussion. So Councillor Imhoff was our councillor selected to be part of the committee. And the reason we selected Councillor Imhoff is because of his background. He worked for the province. He was involved in many, many procurement policy, bid opportunities, and budget processes through the province. So as we all know, we all have expertise and we all have weaknesses. And one of his expertise is this area, and that's why he was selected to be on that committee. And so I'm going to go to Councillor Imhoff to provide us a little bit of feedback, and that might open the discussion up.
Thanks. So obviously, we're aware that we decided to make the purchase through the Canoe Procurement Group, which is it's a group buying, a group purchasing entity. So, and they're nationwide. Now, this is also something that a lot of our fellow municipalities take advantage of, as well as our provincial government actually uses the Canoe process. And not for everything, but they do access it when they feel it's in the right spot or whatever. There was some interesting new information here that Mr. Pike provided us that is worth looking into. The biggest thing about the canoe group is exactly like Mr. Pike explained. It is a very can be a very detailed and time-consuming and tricky thing to set up the processes. Canoe has done that. Now, their contention that they have some very serious concerns with what Canoe is doing. I get that. I also took a quick look after Mr. Pike referenced it here. I believe Acres is on there too. They're a Manitoba company, correct? Yeah.
Canada, again, sorry, Manitoba is the largest manufacturer.
Yeah. So, I think we've gone down this road at this point right now. I'm not sure exactly where that process is, if we've signed our contract or whatever, but to go back on and start this process all over again, I'm not really in favor of that right now. I think we're seeing lots of different things coming into play here. So I was involved with setting up a few of these minor group buying entities within the government for emergency response, like flooding and whatnot. So I understand how the general process works. It's, the scoring or whatever is going to be different based on the product that you're trying to identify and procure. I think we're seeing also huge increases in pricing, and it's across the board. That's the hardest thing to compare apples to apples, as Mr. Pike alluded to, that the numbers of combinations in specification are endless. So what you go for often is what you're familiar with, what your people are trained on, what's available. Those are all questions, and it's such a muddy pond, so to speak. I think we followed the canoe process, which is what AMM is strongly promoting. Whether or not we should do this the next time, maybe we have a look at this and work with. Ideally, it would be nice to see Fort Garry within the canoe group. So how that happens, I'm not sure. But at this point, I'm not in favor of changing course.
Thank you. So I do have the proposal evaluation up here. Firefighting apparatus and fire service vehicles. And E1, their score, it was out of 1,000, was 838. And Fort Garry just under at 775. To be honest, we're not here to break apart the canoe policy or their organization. I guess we're in a way defending our decision that we passed a resolution and we went through the canoe process. And that's a process that our neighboring municipalities use, that we've been encouraged to use, that we have used in the past. And really and truthfully, I think the committee and council thought that we were moving in the direction that was in the best interest of our municipality. And already having an E1 truck, of course, once again, as Councillor Imhoff said, there are preferences as well. And what happens is we were able to then purchase another E1 truck. And I think there's a history there of the E1 truck as well within the municipality. I mean, I think that the municipality, the committee, and the fire department followed the process that we were provided by the canoe organization. We did list it on Merck's. letting everybody know that we would be buying through their process. And I mean, I see that there was some items presented to us that are in question of the organization, maybe. Nothing that council can resolve tonight or even resolve that's the argument that Fort Garry and other organizations in Canada will have against the canoe program. But as for us, I mean, yes, there is that, you know, you said you had a truck on the lot, you could get us a truck sooner. Really and truthfully, this RM is saving up for that truck. So having those timelines kind of benefit us, right? So we're looking towards the future of buying that truck. And but for myself, I'm not prepared to relook at the resolution or look at the process that we went through. I'm confident in the process that we went through. We've already talked to the canoe organization to ensure that we did this accurate, and you know, we've signed a contract to my knowledge, and I think we've given a deposit. So I don't think that right now it would be in our best interest to retract that. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Councillor Postumus?
Yeah, I wouldn't at this time, not, but I would like us to look into some of the stuff, like, you know, especially if they're on their, I'm guessing you're saying on their website, they're saying there's a 15 to 17% discount rate. Hopefully, we look into that.
Well, you can ask Councillor Imhoff.
Yeah, and and I'm sure Councillor Imhoff has taken a bunch of notes to a few questions to ask on that. But yeah, just to look into it. But yeah, I'm not for changing the resolution at this time.
Okay, Councillor Herrera, do you have anything to add?
No, only thing I was going to say is, you know, we can lobby AMM and ask some of those questions that Mr. Pike had about why there aren't any Canadian companies on the thing, and maybe they should be changing some of their strategies for the future. That would be about, you know.
I think Councillor Imhoff pointed out there is a Canadian manufacturer on the list.
No, they were. Sorry, they were not included in the number of qualified bidders, but there was one other Canadian manufacturer, actually a couple there that were bid, but they weren't.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Duval?
It may be too late. I think we really should have a look at how this purchasing group, at least the one we are working with, does these things, because you know, Mr. Pike pointed out some very interesting shortcomings that I think were in that. We'd have to verify everything he says, of course, you know. These procurement groups are the experts in particularly fire trucks. What is important in a fire truck? Who sets up this so procurement matrix, and the sub matrix that took place beforehand, and this procedure? Those are some questions that we would like to have answered. But as far as going back and changing the resolution, I don't think we can. I'm not in favor of that.
Okay. Okay. We'll move on in our meeting. Thank you very much. Okay, nothing under bylaws tonight. Item number 7, policies, 7.1.
Be it resolved that the Public Works Manager job description, JD 192, be approved as presented.
I have a mover, Councillor Rechko, seconded by Councillor Postumus. Thank you. Call for the question. Oh, sorry. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor? That's and 7.2.
Be resolved that the Farmers Market Operating Policy and Procedure, COM-105, amended and approved as presented.
Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Imhoff, seconded by Counselor Duval. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Finances 8.1 for resolution.
Be resolved that the schedule of accounts dated January 8th, 2024, amounting to $250 be confirmed as paid.
A mover, please, Counselor Postuma, second by Counselor Horechko. Any questions or comments? Call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Did you vote, Charles? Charles, did you vote on that one?
Yes,
Okay.
I did that and then went.
8.2 for resolution.
Resolved that the schedule of accounts paid since December 12th, 2023 meeting of council amounting to $587,590.45 be confirmed as paid.
Have a mover, please. Counselor Duval, second by Counselor Imhoff. Any questions or comments? Call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. And 8.3.
Be resolved that the net payroll and council indemnities for the arm of East St. Paul for December 22nd through January 8th amounting to $153,879.78 be approved.
I have a mover, please. Counselor Postuma, seconded by Counselor Duval. Any questions or comments? For the question, all those in favor? Agreed. General business, we have administration, 9.1.1 for resolution.
Whereas section 365(2) of the Municipal Act provides that council may in any year designate the immediately preceding year or any earlier year as the year for which properties, the taxes in respect of which are in arrears for the year, must be offered for sale by auction to recover the tax arrears and costs. Be it resolved that the designated year for which properties in arrears be offered for sale by auction be the year 2023, meaning all properties with outstanding taxes from the year 2022 or prior. And be it further resolved that the arm of East St. Paul engage the services of tax service to facilitate the tax sale process.
Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Imhoff, second by Counselor Duval. Any questions or comments? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. The operations, 9.2.1.
Whereas Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure has identified 7 culverts at PTH 101 and Henderson Highway that need replacing. Therefore, be it resolved that council approve and support the culvert replacement project as presented.
I have a mover, please. Counselor Horechko, seconded by Counselor Postumus. Any comments or questions? No. Counselor Postumus.
I think it's great that we're looking at those culverts because they were definitely one of the problems in the flooding in the spring. And we realized they had somewhere in poor condition, they need to be replaced and made larger. So this is fantastic. Thank you.
Just to add to that, there is no cost.
Yes, and I read that there's no cost to us at all.
Right.
It's even better.
And better. Okay, call for the question. All those
Why are
in
they at?
favor? That's carried. 9.2.2.
Be resolved that the arm of East St. Paul and Valley Fiber Telecom Construction Limited enter into the following agreements. 1, right-of-way consent and access agreement and agreement of construction of fiber optic network. And be it resolved that the arm of East St. Paul implement a letter of credit in the amount of $300,000 and waive the individual cut permit deposits as outlined in the arm bylaws. The cut permit fee will remain applicable. And be it further resolved that the Public Works Manager shall be assigned by the municipality to administer the agreements. And be it further resolved that the mayor and CAO be authorized to sign the agreements on behalf of the municipality.
Okay, can I have a mover?
I'll move it for discussion. You want?
Oh, okay, I thought for sure Counselor Duval would have moved this. Okay, Counselor, are you moving it, Counselor Duval?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Councillor
second.
Bell has moved it, Councillor Fetchko has seconded it. And I'm gonna open the floor up for discussion and Councillor DeBelle is gonna speak to it first.
This word.
Thank you. I asked
Put on your mic.
our operations manager, didn't give him much time, it was only this morning. What is the arrangement of, say, Clements and Springfield with this? Did they put up an LLC? No. Do they have these cut permits? Apparently not. But he was very unfamiliar with the arrangement with Valley Fiber and those two municipalities. This agreement, both of them are very crafted, they're long-winded, they're very comprehensive and thorough. So there must be some sort of a template that Valley Fiber has been using with other items. This is just the thought I'm asking them to throw up $300,000. What's the line of credit? They get it back if they do the work. That's fair enough. But what is the reason for this line of credit? What is the fear here? And it's all centered around some of the sloppy work that was done by their subcontractors. It wasn't a real say a gross negligence issue or anything like that. It's just some sloppy work that they took a long time to come back and clean up. Well, the agreement states, if you read like a copy of it, if you read section 510 of the first one, what it was called there, the right of way consent. I'll read it here. Upon completion of the construction of the Valley Fiber network and for any subsequent work pursuant to this agreement, Valley Fiber shall be responsible for immediately restoring and repair any damage to the RM's right of way, other RM property or property of any other person to the condition in which they existed prior to the subsequent work and to the satisfaction of the manager. I'm sure the manager was there, but if Valley Fiber fails to restore and repair pursuant to this article within 20 days of receipt of notification from the RM may complete the restoration and repair and charge all costs to Valley Fiber. For clarification, this provision is intended to set out the specific obligations for restoration and repair of the RM's right of way. So, if they do something shabby, they don't fix it up properly. We can notify them, you gotta fix it up, you have 20 days. If they don't do it in 20 days, we can do it ourselves or hire another contractor to do it, whatever it is, and bill them. So when I look at this idea of a $300,000 line of credit, it's only to cover off those things, because that's been the only problem with Valley Fiber. So we're covered the way it's written now. So it's not a matter of they don't finish the work. It's more of a matter that the agreement has not been enforced with St. Clements and Springfield and others. They simply didn't enforce the agreement.
Brian, I'm a little confused. Are you debating the fact that Valley Fiber would have to give us a $300,000 letter of credit? You don't want them to give the letter of credit?
The other arms?
Well,
I'm wondering, what is it for?
in case they don't restore. And it's in lieu of a cut permit. So you're saying that the other RMs didn't have to provide a cut permit? Like, why are they working? Why are they getting? Why is it all being waived for them?
I understand they do not have a cut permit. They certainly do not have a line of credit. And
Sure.
the other RMs.
Okay, so I'll just,
Devil's logic.
yeah, I'm just gonna talk from it. If this company was to go sideways, and it's been around for a long time, and I'm not saying anything about the company, nor do I think that. I'm just saying, if it did go sideways, and maybe they were out of business, the arm would have $300,000 to repair work that needed to be repaired. I think that anybody who works in a municipality who's going to move earth or disrupt infrastructure needs to have we need to have some reassurance that if they walk or if they dissolve, we're able to repair that on their dime.
Sure.
And unfortunately, because there has been a bit of a history of complaints and so forth in other RMs, and you're well aware of it, and we all are at this table, we want to make sure that the arm is protected in moving forward with Valley Fiber. And maybe not Valley Fiber, but their subcontractors who are hired to do the cuts, and do the restoration. We want to make sure that our community is protected. I don't think that, this was all government funded. All money provided to Valley Fiber, they won the bid. This is not monies that are, gonna hinder their organization, because the money is provided by federal government, I believe, is the, so it's really, it doesn't take away from their organization to provide the letter of credit using federal grant monies. Okay.
My point is, the agreement covers us anyway.
But you'd have to chase them, you would have to chase them for the money though, right?
Yeah. It would be violating the agreement if they pay up.
Right, but if something goes sideways with a company and there's a whole bunch of people in line, sometimes there's not enough to go around. So you have protection of an LOC in case that happens. Councilor Horechko?
So based on rumors, I feel very comfortable having a $300,000 line of credit.
Councilor Posthumous?
Yeah, reading through this too, the staff said it was giving the flat rate was better, like flat amount. And they still kind of was going to be saving staff time also. And based on talking to other RMs, some of the stuff that's happened, maybe it's subcontractors or whatever, have this money sitting. If we've got to go fix a driveway or drainage problems or something from the digging, I think it's important to have. I'm not just, I know it says in there on that rule 510 that they have 20 days to come do it, but what if they never come do it? So I would stay with the 300,000.
Yeah. In all honesty, you wanted to, okay, Councilor Duval.
Absolutely. You gotta remember, we've been waiting for about 2 years for Valley Fiber to come along and give us service just to that part of the municipality. And all along, they pretty much implied that the problem was with East St. Paul. They didn't want to enter into an agreement. Well, that wasn't quite fair, but that's what they said. Okay? That's what they said, Charles. Don't think twice. Now, so if we come up with this requirement, a couple of extra requirements like this big LLC, which they didn't have to provide to any of the other municipalities. Apparently, we didn't have anybody who asked them, except Andrew just asked 2 of them this morning. Are they going to balk at the whole agreement? Are they going to say, look, East St. Paul isn't negotiating fairly because everybody else doesn't want it? Why should they have one? And then the whole project could collapse.
Well, it can't collapse because they were provided federal grant monies to bring fiber to rural areas. When Valley Fiber first sat in front of council, and it wasn't this council today, so Councillor Imhoff, I don't expect you to understand this portion of the conversation, but is that when they came to us, they wanted to service our urban, not our rural. And East St. Paul said, no, thank you. We would like to see you service our rural. And that was not the agreement that they provided to us. And it was our understanding at the time that the monies were provided for rural setting, and that was to bring to rural areas. Unfortunately, that was not what was presented to us. So we've chased Valley Fiber for the last 2 years, or maybe a year, whatever it might be, to service our rural areas. And now we finally have agreement in front of us. And I don't know that they would have a choice to not accept our agreement because they were provided monies by the federal government to do this service for municipalities.
Yes.
And if they were to not want to do the agreement with the municipalities, then we would have to look to our federal MP to say, what is happening with this company and the federal money provided? Because East St. Paul has waited a long time. And I honestly thought we were going to have a great discussion. People would be happy to hear this meeting tonight that finally we got a contract for our rural setting on a side of East St. Paul that has been, asking repetitively for proper fiber installed. We're finally there. And I think that this is a little jump, but we can get there. And I'm pretty sure they're going to sign the agreement.
To your point, Madam Mayor, yes, we are finally at this point. But it's not an agreement yet. We don't have an agreement. That's the one we're supposed to be signing here.
So I'm hoping that.
I know we can all hope, but I just, at this point, as if after all this time, at this point, I'd rather not throw a wrench in it, because it could delay for another who knows how long. You have to get the feds involved, and are they gonna back their financing to Valley Fiber if they don't, Valley Fiber can't accept the municipality's negotiating points? Is that guaranteed? Would the feds come down higher than Valley Fiber and say, you must try and be St. Paul's version of the contract? I don't know.
Well, no.
It can't be open-ended, so there must be some.
Well, any organization that goes into work in any groundwork, there should be some protection to the city, town, area, municipality, whatever you want to call it. They should have protection. And it shouldn't be any different for Valley Fiber. What other RMs do is not my concern. What East St. Paul does is my concern. Is East St. Paul protected is my concern. If St. Clements didn't want to protect themselves with an LOC, that was the council of the day's decision to make. But this RM is requesting an LOC, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. But I'm going to step away from the conversation now because I've said my piece, so I'll go to Councillor Pastunos.
This is a line of credit. If they do it all, they just get it back. It saves them a ton of time. It stops from individual cut permit deposits for every house they go to. This is going to be way better for them and for our staff. And it's $300,000. It's sitting there. Everything goes, they get it back. It's not like they're losing $300,000. And our bylaws and everything, we have cut permits where, it's making the permit more efficiently. It's just a faster way to do it. And instead of doing them all individually, to me, it just makes sense that way. It's not money. And we haven't heard from them, are we putting the cart before the horse or whatever they say? They may be fine with this.
Yeah.
They can always come back and say, you know what, we don't have that to give you right now or whatever. We haven't even heard from them. So I'm fine with leaving it in. It just makes sense because it would be a lot, how permits go. And if you're going to do one for every single house and a cut permit, like deposit on everyone before you start, this to me is streamlining the whole system.
Councillor Hall?
Yeah, I agree with what Councillor Possum is saying. It seems to me this just removes a bunch of red tape and still keeps us protected.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Good with it.
Suzanne, I just saw someone in the hallway go towards the council committee room.
Just walk by.
Oh, okay.
Cleaner.
Yep, someone has a ride home. Our youngest in the audience tonight.
Just more of a FYI, doesn't really matter. But St. Andrews does have a line of credit. He's not sure exactly what the amount is.
Oh.
And LOC makes people more comfortable. They use contractors, and that's the problem. So better accountability at difficult times.
Yeah, they sub everything out because they're,
Because I know the mayor of West St. Paul has issues with them because they dug up his street.
turn your mic on.
And the mayor of West St. Paul was telling us at RRPD, they dug up his street with the stuff, and it's been 7 months. He still doesn't have the internet. So maybe with something like this, if that was in place, it might have moved along quicker.
We'll keep the contractors accountable.
Yeah.
The subcontractors.
Hey, Councilor Duval, do you feel more comfortable now knowing that St. Andrews has an LOC with the organization?
Sure. Would you want us to table it till the next meeting and get more information?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I'm just leery that we've been all through with residents out in that area of our municipality and been through trying to get something done. What we've gone through, haven't gone through to get this to this point. Right at the 11th hour, and we're gonna throw this in the,
Well, they may not have a problem with us.
it's just,
You know, I don't have a sense that this is gonna end. It's just not gonna end the contract. It's gonna move forward. And at the end of the day, yes, we've gone through some time waiting, but it was also because East St. Paul stuck to their guns that we wanted rural servicing and not urban servicing because MTS and Shaw and other organizations run through our urban setting, but we needed service in our rural. And so we held out and now we're getting our service in our rural. And that's what we wanted. And that's the accomplishment that we needed to do. And we've done it. And we're just a resolution away from hopefully signing a contract. So I'm going to end the discussion and call for the question. All those in, oh, we have a mover and a seconder, right?
Yes.
Okay, all those in, sorry.
contract as written does not include the amendments that have been proposed. The $100,000 LOC, it's not in there. It's to be amended. That's what, I'm thinking was. If I read all this correctly, Madam CEO.
Need to include as amended, so I can reread the resolution if you just give me 1 minute.
Sure.
Wonderful, I don't credit.
Be it resolved that the arm of East St. Paul and Valley Fiber Telecom Construction Limited enter into the following agreements. Number 1, right-of-way consent and access agreement as amended, and 2, agreement of construction of fiber optic network. And be it resolved that the arm of East St. Paul implement a letter of credit in the amount of $300,000 and waive the individual cut permit deposits as outlined by the arm bylaws. The cut permit fee will remain applicable. And be it further resolved that the Public Works Manager shall be assigned by the municipality to administer the agreements. And be it further resolved that the mayor and CAO be authorized to sign the amended agreements on behalf of the municipality.
Okay, are we satisfied with the resolution as written?
Hmm.
Okay, so I'll call for the question. All those in favor? And opposed? That's carried. I don't say opposed too often, so got a little bit
Okay.
choked up there. It's like, what's the next word? I don't know. I usually agree. Okay, 9.2.3 is a Tournament of Aces. And you're ready for resolution.
Be resolved that the East St. Paul Tournament of Aces be declared a community event for the purpose of making an application for the appropriate permits. And be it further resolved that council waive the rental fee for the banquet hall as follows: March 8, 9, and 10 from 12 p.m. till 2 a.m. and March 15, 16, 17 from 12 p.m. to 2 a.m. That council waive the facility damage deposit fee. That the tournament be responsible for completing a rental agreement, which may include ensuring that insurance, supervision, and security are all in place, and that the East St. Paul Tournament of Aces ensure that space is available for the ongoing recreation programs.
I have a mover, please. Councillor Duval, seconded by Councillor Imhoff. Any discussion, questions? Call for the question. All those in favor? Didn't need to say opposed. Okay, item number 9.3, human resources. At this point, I'm going to pass the chair over to my deputy mayor, Councillor Horechko. And I'm gonna step out of council chambers. I'm gonna recuse myself from the next resolution, and then I will be in a couple minutes. Councillor Horechko. You have the
Thanks.
floor.
I'll get our CAO to read the resolution.
Be it resolved that council approves the hiring of the following pay-per-call firefighters: Philip Ferreira, Damon Devlin, Jesse Mitchell, Bevan Barkman, Brandon Negrich, and Jason Schick.
I get a mover, please. Councillor Duval and a seconder. Councillor Bust. Any questions or comments?
Just one comment. How come the council approves the hiring of firefighters?
Council approves the hiring of all staff for the fire department. It has been past practice.
Yeah.
All right.
Good point.
I don't have 100% certainty. It's just that's how it's been done in the past. They've always come for council resolution. I will speak with our HR person tomorrow to see if we're overstepping.
Yep, because I think we have a resolution that says we have 40 firefighters on staff, so as long as they keep that complement, they probably.
We have resolutions dating back to the 1990s that have this coming forward. So it's just been something that has been done in the past.
Okay.
And these firefighter candidates have gone through a formalized process for the hiring, like an interview and whatever else, qualifications, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, my understanding is the fire chief would do interviews. He's gone through that and then handpicked. And as they usually don't wait till there's one or two. It's when they drop significantly. So they're down to 35. They usually carry 40. So they want to get 5 more right away.
There's actually a committee.
Yeah, they had a committee.
It's the fire chief and the 2 deputies.
Yeah, so they've gone through the committee, whoever applied, and seeing that we're down 5 already or more, they want to get it back up.
That's good.
Any more questions? Can I take a vote? Call for the question, or all in favor? Anyone against? But it is a valid point. They don't get paid a salary, they get paid by call. Right, I had a question. You know,
Do you
in the
want me to
sense,
leave?
no.
Also,
Just talking in general, more so.
Mike,
Why we really need to know that they want to hire 6 on-call firemen. They have a number of 40 that they try to maintain. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
It might be in one of the bylaws.
Probably in a
Yeah,
bylaw.
it could very well be part of the bylaw that says they must be approved by council.
I mean, really and truthfully, coming before us means nothing because
No.
we wouldn't know. It's not.
Yeah.
CAO would do a hiring and bring to us and we still wouldn't,
Exactly.
we're gonna approve it because it's not our decision. It's the hiring committee's decision.
Yeah, that's why I had asked. There is a formalized process for it. There's a committee in place. It's not like they just walk over to Jonesy's and grab the first 5 guys and away they go, right? Like,
good idea though.
yeah, so
So-
it's something we could probably look at changing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it might make sense to change it.
Yeah. No, it,
Okay. Okay, so Brian, did you have something to say? I thought maybe I saw your hand. Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna take the chair back now and under general 9.4.1.
Resolved that council adopts the 2024 first call for capital projects as proposed at the December 5th and December 11th preliminary budget meetings.
A mover, please, Councillor Horechko, seconded by Councillor Imhoff. Any discussions or questions in regards to the resolution? Nope. Okay, call for the question. All those in favor? It's carried. That's us tonight. So there's correspondence in our packages, of course. Any discussion coming out of correspondence tonight? Nope. Okay. We already discussed the delegations presentation. Council members need to provide their reports. Do we have anything in camera tonight? We do not. So item number 14, adjournment.
Resolved that the meeting be adjourned, the time being 6:43.
A mover, please. Councillor, second by Councillor. Any discussion or questions? No, I'm just kidding. All those in favor? I almost thought, I was gonna say opposed. Okay, Carrie.